So hi Aastha, how are you?
Hi Bhavya, thanks for introducing me. So hi guys.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks a lot for inviting me. And I wanted to know first that the majority of the people who are here, like, what's your year right now? First year, second year, or we also have third year people here? Can you guys please write in the chat section? Okay. Okay. Do we have anybody from third year? Okay, we have Saloni here. All right, that's great. That's great. So I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Aastha, and I'm in my junior year at Institute of Engineering and Technology, Lucknow. And my majors is in electronics and communication, but I'm quite interested in computer science. And I recently, this summer, I worked with KD's Gcompri under Google Summer of Code. And I have, other than this, also cracked LFX and Outreachy. And I have also worked in IIT Bhilai's Fast Overflow. So yeah, I mean, I've been working in a lot of open source projects and I'm quite enthusiastic about it. So this is why I was very much interested to take up the session. And yeah, so let's just get started. Bhavya, I hope my voice is audible. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. So my screen sharing, right? So yeah, so let's just start. What is open source? For all the people who are in first year, second year, has anybody started working on something or any project remotely on GitHub, or Hackable Fest is also going on? So I'm assuming that out. Can anybody just write in like one line, what do you think open source is? Can anybody just write and like tell me about whatever you know?
We are open to modify the code or anything like software according to our needs and our customizations.
Okay. Kushal, that's partly correct. Anybody else? Okay, free to use all in code is available for free. Code is public and anyone can use it. We can contribute to a specific project with others. We can make contribution to code which are present in public, have free access to it. All right. Okay, that's great. So yeah, I mean, if I incorporate all the views that you guys are telling me, so it's majorly what I like to define open source is that it's something like charity technology where you are not donating money, but you are actually spending your time and skills to develop a community managed software. So basically, what is open source? You must have used Mozilla, you must have used a VLC media player. So all these softwares are open source and these are managed by community. Now, what is like community managed software? These people who manage these open source software, they have their full-time jobs. And apart from the full-time, they spend some extra time that they get to maintain these softwares. And these the code to these softwares is public. So anybody like you and me or anyone on this earth can actually, help them by implementing features or even sometimes in code documentation. So this is called like open source, that it is open, it is code is open, it is free for everybody to use, and these are managed by communities. So a lot of community support is needed to maintain such software. If I tell you Google TensorFlow, and there are so many projects in GSoC, like Harvard's project is there, which are so big and so large. In fact, KDE has like 5 projects in itself. I worked in Gcompri and there were other fraud projects like that. So many big code bases are majorly like maintained by communities, and these people just have this enthusiasm and passion that they want to work for the community apart from their full-time jobs. And these companies which are like open source organizations, they are basically led by the donations made, and GSoC is one of those programs. If you're if these people get like the students who are interning in these organizations, so Google pays them to work on their softwares. And apart from that, even I and you, people like normal people like I and you, if we have money, we can also donate. So this is how, like, via donations, these software survive, and all the developers are like a community, and they manage these big code bases. So yeah, so after this, let's before getting into the benefits of you and you as a student and why you should contribute to an open source software, let's look into today's agenda. So we'll be looking into the introduction of OSS, that is open source softwares, and its benefits, Git and GitHub. We'll also be briefly talking about Hackable Fest and how it can help you get started in the world of open source. We'll be discussing about GSoC, its applications, prerequisites, requirements, proposal making tips, and everything in depth, and other open source programs which are an alternative to GSoC. And of course, there's so many other programs which pay you much more than GSoC. So you must be knowing about it. Like you must know about it because when I was in my first year, second year, like not a lot of people like talk about these programs. And I will also let you know how you can get started with small programs which are easy to approach, and then get to these big programs like GSoC or MS's program, or MLH also has their open source program. So we can talk about that. And towards the end, I'll be telling you about my personal hack, which I use when I have to approach an open source program, and how it has helped me so far. So yeah, so the benefits of contributing to an open source software, I think a lot of people must be knowing about it. Can anybody in the chat section tell me what they think is the benefit and why they should contribute to open source software as a college student? Like, how do you think it can help you? Can anybody just briefly write 1-2 points in the chat? Get to know people like tech. Yeah, that's one of the benefits. Make connections. Okay. Skills, of course. Showcase our skills in public, improve tech. Yeah, so you guys are absolutely correct. So the major benefits and of why you should contribute to open source software is basically you get to work on huge code bases. Other than this, if you start working on like huge code bases, it could be in your internships, like your your internships at the end of your third year. When you get to work with big MNCs or let's say startups, then is when you get to work with like this huge code bases. But here you have like a big community support. You have Slack channels, you have Discord, you have other Element, Matrix, and so many other personal chats also, community chats, where you can approach the community people and they can help you to contribute on these big and huge code bases, which is in itself a thing that I think everybody is excited about. At least I was very excited that how will I be able to make changes in big code bases that are already existent. And these softwares are like pretty old. Some of them are even older than GSoC. Like GSoC has been here for 17 years, but my project was around 20-25 years old. So, it is very exciting to, that you can at least add one feature or do something to improve an already existing such a huge code base. Apart from that, the products that you build are real world. So when you're building, you think from a user's perspective and people actually use your product. For me, one of the biggest motivations while I started contributing into open source was the fact that I can build something that people are they will actually use. And after your request gets merged, after your features get merged, this is, I think, one of the biggest motivations that people have. You also get to learn from senior developers because, just like I said, these people already have a full-time job, and the maintainers, like the main maintainers of these organizations and these repos, they're usually senior developers. They have been there and they just do it out of their passion for technology and to help community. So you get to learn a lot from them when you get to work with them, and it is like free. You don't have to pay any mentorship fee or anything. You just have to have the passion and the zeal to like contribute, and that's it. And then your learning curve starts. You get to do so many things. And also, I don't know how much like people have leveraged their open source contribution this way, but for me, most of the referrals that I've got at while I was appearing for Intuit or for LinkedIn or okay, MS was through MS Engage, but I think all the companies that I've applied to, all of them have in some way or other way have answered to my application. That was majorly I always apply with referrals. And how do I get referrals? When I approach these senior software engineers at these big PPCs, they look at the PR contribution and also the contribution that I've added in my resume, and they look at this code is public, and they're more attracted because if you work on a project, like let's say it's a separate project, then there are chances that you can copy it, but these code bases are public, and so many people are involved with reviewing your PR before it gets merged. So it is kind of work authenticity, and it leads to kind of approval that yeah, this work is authentic, she has done it, and yes, we can like give her a try or give him a try. So this is why I think that it leads to a lot of greater chances that you get referrals. And before 2019, I would like to tell you that in GSoC itself, Google said that there were a referral system in Google itself through Google Summer of Code. But after 2019, since the number of applications increased a lot, so now they have, like not explicitly said that, but it is true that if you have GSoC in your resume, that if you're applying to Google, then at least the recruiter will look at your resume. Like, okay, they may or may not call you. That depends on the pool of candidates that they have. But there are high chances that they will look at it. Nothing can assure anything, but these are the ways people use, and a lot of people use to amplify actions with their resume. So I think this is one of the biggest benefits that I have got. Also, just in case you're planning for higher studies or even for your research internships, professors are very, very, very much considerate that the child has done open source contributions. And because for me, I think whenever I used to say that I have developed these features and these repositories to my professors, even at IIT, so they were like very impressed with it. And not even in India, but if I talk about abroad, in college admissions also, this will show a holistic profile of a candidate, that the candidate has been consistent and has been trying to, get into tech and, have a holistic profile and not just is doing things for getting a job or something, but you are actually passionate about technology and you want to do something different with it. And which is what they look in their candidates who are applying for masters. And also, this might happen in your case, this might not happen in your case, depends on the organization that you're working with. But I worked on LFX Pixie, and I also worked in KD's Gcompare. So both of these organizations had, in some or the other way, international conference kind of thing. So I got an opportunity. Like there were visa issues, so of course I couldn't visit, but I had like full funded trip to Spain, Barcelona, and other to United States, Michigan City. So I had like an opportunity to visit this 5 days conference in US and the 15 days event in Barcelona. And it was full funded, like my tickets and stay and everything was full funded, but my visa was not approved apparently for Europe and US. So that's another thing. But just in case you try, you can also get international exposure, meet these people in person. And I think this is something very important as a student, and especially for Indian students, you get an international exposure. So that has been one of the biggest benefits that I have got. Okay, so let's quickly move into Git and GitHub. Does anybody know like what is the difference between Git and GitHub? Can anybody like write in chat? Okay. Yeah, Prashant, that's true. And what is GitHub? How can you define it? Like that's explicitly written on the slide. Yeah. Git is version control software, GitHub is repo hosting side. Okay. So there's a slight difference, and I think this is the difference that you need to know, that Git is basically, it's a version control system, and that the system lets you manage and keep track of your source code history in your system. Okay, so it's like a system, it's not any software. But GitHub is basically a cloud-based hosting service that lets you manage your Git repositories. And GitLab, and also you have Bitbucket. So all of these are like cloud-based hosting service, and these are like softwares which help you manage your Git repositories. But Git is the version control system. Okay, so that lets you manage and keep track of your source code. You have a lot of commands to check your commits which you have done from your local repository to the cloud hosting service GitHub and C. So that's the major difference between Git and GitHub, that this is a system which helps you manage, and these are like cloud hosting based service that lets you manage your GitHub repositories. So there are very basic, like we'll not be going into how can you do Git commands, but I'd just like to talk about some basic commands so that at least people who have attended the session, they know that, at least have like a high level idea of what Git and GitHub is. I'm sure by now, since like a lot of you people are in second year and a lot of you people are in third years, you must be aware and you must have already created a PR. But taking it in from the beginner's perspective, assuming that we have first year students here. So we have very basic commands like git clone. So as the word itself says, you are basically creating a copy of something. Okay, just like I have this high level idea, and I'll let you know a story to like bind up everything where you can use these. So git clone means that you are basically making a copy of something that is already there, and you want that copy on your local system. Okay. Git pull is something. Git pull and push is basically related when you are actually, let's say, before Git, how would you do it? Like without using Git, how would you change or how would you transfer files? Let's say I'm working on a project with my friend, and I want to my friend to make changes in the same file. So how would I do it? I would create a zip of that file and I will send that file to my friend. Now, if I send that file to my friend over Gmail, then there is a limit of 25 MB in Gmail. And also if I like upload in Drive and something, so that might be like a little hectic. And also the live changes that, in the last commit, what change, like in the last version of the file, what changes were there. You might have to use the software to see before and after, and see like on what line, what changes have been added or what lines have been like removed and so on. So that might be quite hectic and you have to, keep on transferring it in this way. But GitHub actually helps you to upload your files from local repository on this service, and then your friends, like whoever is working on the project, you guys can collaborate on this on these files, and you can actually commit the changes. Commit means that you are actually taking your changes from a local repository to this service. So that is called as git push, that you're pushing the changes from your local to this cloud service. And when you're pulling the changes means, let's say your friend has made some changes and you want them in your local repository, like your local system, then you would pull the changes. So basically, there is this transfer of changes from your local to the repository and the repository on this service to your local system. So this is the entire concept between git pull and git push. A very beginner, very high level idea for those of you people who have not used Git at all. So that's what git clone, git pull, and git push is. And now let's look into that. Like how does Git work? So whenever you have to, like, let's say, I'm not like actually telling you like with command, but like giving you in 2 minutes a very quick idea how Git works. So let's say you have a repository and you initialize that repository, and then using the git init command, and then you make some add some files in that folder in your local, and then after you basically add. So from working directly, you use the the command or git add, and then you take those changes or those files to the staging area. Staging area is that area which has files which are to be supposed to be go in the next commit. Okay, so staging area is something which has got all the tracked files and which are supposed to go in the next commit. Now, after you use git commit command, you get a hash related to the commit that you've made. Let's say I add something, I just initialized my repo. So I can just give a commit message that initialized my repo, and that will have a commit hash to it, which is a unique ID as you can see on the screen. And then finally, my changes from my system would go to the Git repository. Behind this, you also have to set up your origin, which means that you have to also put the remote repository's URL in your local computer. And for this, we will be needing SSH key. Now, SSH key, what does it does? It basically, tells the repo that this repo is mine and the system is mine, and allow me to push my code. And after setting origin, you can simply do git push and git pull to get the changes and reflect the code changes. So I hope that gives you a very like a high level idea of how Git works, and what is git add, what is git commit. Git add basically, as the figure shows you, that you from your local you take the things to the staging area, and from the staging area, when you have to finally go and commit it to the Git repository, you use the git commit command, and it also has a hash related to it, which has its benefits, which you can understand, because Git in itself is a very big topic. While I was discussing about this session with Bhavesh, so we had this idea that we would have like a hands-on session. But if I start taking session in Git, it would be in itself like a 30-35 minute session where we can discuss like so many useful commands that are there. So I think interested people can explore it on themselves. You have tons of resources on YouTube, but this was just to give you a high level idea and like get you motivated on how to start. And it's a very simple concept. Once you get into it, trust me, you'll love it. Like once you start doing it, you'll love it. And also one of the biggest benefits of using GitHub is that let's say you're a beginner and you want to make these code changes into these big repositories. So your work is not directly merged with the main repository. So it's like you create branches. We work in branches in Git. So on my branch, whatever change I have, until it is not in the main branch, it will not reflect to the people who actually have the full version of the software, who actually are using the software currently. So everybody has their own branch, and then there is this master branch which has the perfect tested features with with maintainers have reviewed and then they have merged those requests. So there is this main branch, and your work is there in that branch. And just in case it is correct, there is when your work from your branch gets merged into the main, and someone else's work, as this figure shows that you have multiple branches, and then there is one main branch. So all the code that is reviewed, that is correct, and that is capable of going to the product is in the main branch, is in the master branch, and rest of it is in your respective branches. So this is one of the biggest benefits, that you do not end up breaking the main code while you're still trying to make a PR. And which is why open source is beginner friendly. You don't have to worry about anything. Just in case even you like break the code, it's totally fine. It's still in your branch until and unless you don't like create a branch and you push something to master. But of course, that will not be merged. So open source is very beginner friendly, and this is one of the biggest advantages of using it. Now let's quickly talk about what is Hackable Fest and why you should be a part of it. Okay, so when I got my admission in 2020, Hackable Fest was the first event which I attended, and simply like after getting my college, I started learning about Git and GitHub and how to create a PR. And I think Hackable Fest was going on at that time because in 2020 due to COVID the admissions were pretty late. So at that point of time, one of my friends told me that there is this competition Hackable Fest and you should like take a part in it. And if I tell you that in my first Hackable Fest I wasn't able to create like 4 complete PRs, which is the requisite to participate in this competition. This is like a global competition where a lot of people participate, and there are repositories over GitHub which have the label which have the label Hackable Fest on it, and you have to search those repositories with the label, and then you are supposed to make a PR. Now there are this festival is also for like everyone, like it is for beginners, it is for experts. You, depending upon the complexity level of the issue, you can like deal and like create a PR. So when I started, I wasn't able to create 4 PRs because at that point in time, learning to create a PR was another thing, but actually finding repositories and making changes, or at least having the idea that you can even make color changes or like documentation changes, these things were very I would say obsolete to me at that point of time. So I wasn't aware that in fact like a text change, if you like correct somebody's like let's say intro to any repository, if you just even correct anything in readme, that is also called like a valid PR. I was not aware of that, so I was trying to like I knew how to create a PR, but I wasn't anything. I was very new to all this. So development वगैरह HTML CSS basically छोटा सा बहुत आता था, ऐसा कुछ खास नहीं आता था. So I was able to create 3 PRs, and 4th PR was like after Hackable Fest. I did complete like 4 PRs, but it was not during Hackable Fest. So I wasn't able to complete the task. Why is it important? Is because there are so many repositories which welcome beginners. So just in case you want to get started, you want to build a profile, you want to have that kind of motivation that I want to like dive into open source, and before I dive into very big repositories or make like something very big, start with very small. And I think this can be your take, and you should like do it. It's already October 9th, and as far as I know that there are like limited slots for people who get swags. So there is also like a race that you have to complete a 4 PRs first, and there is a dashboard when you register on Hackable Fest's website. You can go and check it. There's a dashboard. It will show that how many PRs you have created, how many are merged, and how many are in review. So according to that, your rank is decided something, and then the top I think 75,000, or there is a number every year. You can check on their website. Are the people who get swags in appreciation to their work and to getting started into the world of open source. So it is like a festival which people celebrate to welcome more people into the world of open source, or to excite people who have already been into open source but dormant, something like that. So it is hosted by DigitalOcean, and it is for everyone. Like I said, there can be issues of varying complexity, beginner friendly to like medium level issues, or there can be very complex issues as well. Depending upon the level of your proficiency, you can participate, search for labels of the repo, and search for issues and get started. And also, as I mentioned, there are swags. You get like stickers and t-shirts and stuff. And also, it's like a big kickstart to your open source journey, which is why I suggest that you should do it, because I did it. I failed first time. Then in the second year, I think I was already like I had done a lot of PRs and stuff, so I was able to complete it. This year also, like I have to participate. I've been trying. So that is another thing. But I think you should do it. Like even first year people should do it, and it's very beginner friendly. So yeah, now let's come and talk about what is GSoC. Okay, so GSoC is Google Summer of Code, and the idea of GSoC traditionally came in 2005 from the founders of Google themselves, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. So this idea came from them, and why Google started it is because there are so many like open source organizations, and Google is such a big organization which is like world renowned. So just like I said, that these organizations are, they run on the donations that happen. And the maintainers sometimes they need funds, and sometimes the maintainers, switch like their jobs just to maintain these public repositories. And they only, the salary, like whatever like, they have for their living is based on the donations that they get from people. So yes, there are so many philanthropic people we have. So just to support these efforts, and Google itself has a TensorFlow and like other repositories in GSoC. So they understood the importance of supporting these organizations and why is it important. So this is why this program was started. And if I tell you about its duration, like this year, it was from this year, from 2022, it is open for all. Like before 2022, it was only for college students. Like you should be 18 above and you should be a college student. And then is when you can, be a part of a GSoC program. But from 2022, it is even open for professionals that even if you're working, you can be a part of it. So there is like no rush and no hurry. But I think there's a limit to the participation that you can like participate in GSoC for like maximum of 2 times or maximum 3 times. The conditions like change. I have seen people who have participated 2 times in this competition, or some people who participated like 3 times. And some people who are interested in being a mentee 1 year and being a mentor next year, depending upon interest, you can participate. And the duration is for 3 months. And okay, this year the stipend was $1,500, which is somewhere around currently, which is somewhere around 1,20,000 something. But I have researched on this. So like around 2019, 2020, it was 6,000. So that Google has now been focusing on like dividing the stipend in such a way that the countries which are like financially weak, more stipend to them than the country who are financially strong. And if I tell you, Indians have actually have made the benchmark. Like everybody knows that in GSoC, a lot of Indians get selected because, of course, like in abroad, like Indians are considered to be smart and to be hardworking, and we definitely, like are one of the smartest people on earth, like Indians. So even in GSoC, if you would see, there are a lot of people from India who get accepted, and even like GSoC has recognized it a lot of times. So we'll be looking into these aspects, that what are the prerequisites of it, how to select organizations, and proposal making tips. So, okay, one thing that is very important for you to understand is I can say XYZ things. There are a lot of people who say that, you should be knowing a language, you should be knowing a framework before you get started, which is true, that you should have some idea of what development is, at least have made some application, even if it's like a simple notepad application in JavaScript. You should have a basic idea of what development is. But this is not a necessity. Why? I'll tell you later, but I'll tell you and I'll walk you through like what is the conventional prerequisite to be a part of it. It is majorly to know a language and to know at least one framework. So that let's say you work in Java, like Android in Java. Now, of course, there's Kotlin there, but let's say you work in some backend framework in Java, Spring Boot, or some other framework. So if you know that framework, it is easy for you to find organizations that work in the same line. So for you, it becomes all the more easy to like make the code contribution. There are communities, that like organizations, very big organizations that are known like Checkstyle and JBoss and so many other things. Because my tech stack was Java, so I have explored a lot of organizations in Java. So JBoss is a very big organization that is majorly interested in DevOps and Kubernetes. Then there is Checkstyle, which is basically a tool that developers use to adhere to coding standards. And there are a lot of other, like organizations. And when I was searching my own organization, and when I was, in the preparation phase, and when I was aiming, so I was not even aiming for actually GSoC, but I was aiming to contribute, like to make a contribution in a GSoC organization and get my PR merged, because that was kind of dream for me. So yeah. So that time, everybody used to say this, that prerequisites are that you must be knowing a language, and then you should go and search and filter, and then according to your language, the organizations that are working in your language, and then start contributing. But the major problem with it is that irrespective of your proficiency in the language, if you learn it, there are times that you still might find the code daunting. And even if you don't find the code daunting, let's say the community is supportive, there are chances that you might not be interested in the product itself. Why I'm saying this is because before getting to KD's GCompri, I did not try GSoC in my first year. This was my first proposal, I think. But I told you about my zeal that I wanted to get my PR merged. So I did get my PR merged in a GSoC organization. And the first 2 PRs that were merged, it was in Textile. It's a Java organization. It is very like popular, and the code base is like very beginner friendly. So towards the end of my first year, I got my 2 PR merged in the GSoC organization. But the thing was that after getting these 2 like PR merged, I wasn't like very motivated to work towards it, and that is true. Irrespective of the fact that I knew Java, irrespective of the fact that I knew some backend framework in Java, I wasn't very motivated. So that is the conventional way that people tell you. And what I tell you as a prerequisite is that just dive into it. Dive into it and like, just have like a basic idea of what development is, be it Android, be it anything. Okay. And then just, of course, find your organization and at least find the products which interest you. Because one thing very, 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 if I tell you motivating in my GSoC journey is that why I'm active in my organization even now after GSoC, is because the product that I was working on, it interested me a lot. I was like impressed with it, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to work on, and this is what I want to spend my time on. And I literally was ready to spend my time on it, irrespective of the fact I was getting selected in GSoC or not, because I knew that if I could make like valuable contribution, if I could make my activity get merged, then it will be something on my resume. I can like, I will be proud of my contribution. So that is why this was my motivation. GSoC was never my motivation. So just focusing that you have to do something for sake of crafting GSoC is not good. You should rather be thinking in the way that how you can make a contribution. And eventually, if you're good at it, trust me, these programs are not tough. You can make it. Like you can just make it. But you should be more focused towards the product that interests you, because I have seen a lot of people who sign up for GSoC, but they get demotivated like in the middle of it, because when the GSoC starts, the organizations that pay you so much, they expect a lot of work from you. They expect like heavy PRs getting merged, a lot of code to be pushed every single day, and in the middle of it, it might happen that you lose motivation, and it is very rare that people don't complete it. But don't just do it for sake of doing a program or because you have proposed something, but do it because you like it. And if you don't like it, I would suggest don't do it, because of course there are benefits of open source, but if you are not interested in what you do, I don't think it matters. So my suggestion, prerequisites would be just have like a brief idea in at least do 2 months of dev in anything, be it HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Like even if you're doing simple like web work or something, that is fine. Even if you're doing Android, that is fine. Flutter, whatever tech stack you like, web app, mobile app, just have a basic sense of dev, how it happens, some sense of DSA, and then you are good to go. Like 2-3 months of understanding and deep, I would say dedicated month, and then you're prepared to actually go, because when you enter an organization, it takes you months to understand their code base if it is very large and if the community is not very interactive, I would say. And there are communities I know which are not very interactive, but you might like the products and you might want to spend extra time to understand their code, which is going to be more beneficial for you rather than just beating around the bush and making different applications to make yourself proficient. Because when you work, there are things which are required on spot. At least I have learned a lot of things on way while learning to contribute. I think I did not knew about the framework. My language was Java, And surprisingly, the organization that I'm working with, they work in JavaScript in backend and the QML, which is a C++ framework in frontend. So I wasn't like proficient in C++, but I just like Google search and did because dev का थोड़ा बहुत मेरे को idea था. JavaScript मेरे को थोड़ा बहुत पता था. But the major thing QML and stuff, like how to do stuff and how to do things, I Google search and did it. So that is because I have that kind of dev aptitude, I would say, because काम कर रखा था 1-2 महीना. And Google search करना आता था. So being a software developer, Google search is going to be your biggest friend. So pay attention to that. And I think it's about how much time you spend on understanding the code base of a particular organization that you choose, rather than preparing yourself to actually getting started to contribution. It's just like your code forces contest. That a lot of people think that contest देने से पहले हम अपनी 50-60 problems कर ले. But that is a way when you are like a very beginner. But I think contest dete improve karna is, and then upsolving is a better way, rather than just beating around the bush and preparing yourself. Because aap jab dete ho, then is when you understand ki kya actually required hai. So that is, I think, the prerequisite according to me. Now, how to select organizations? Of course, there are 2-3 criteria that you can look into. One is that anybody would do it. Even I was doing it, if I tell you, in January 2022 itself. I was actually sitting and sorting out the organizations with from Java. Like I searched Java on the GSoC organization. When the organizations when I was checking the past year organization, I was just checking like which organizations are there under Java, and I was just checking them. And trying to understand the product and like what they work. Was trying to see who have contributed in them, what medium articles they have, or what blogs they have. Was just trying to understand them. And trust me, it was not like I had already worked with Checkstyle, and I was thinking that फिर से मेरा same experience होने वाला है. मैं बहुत motivated interested नहीं होंगी इसमें. So I think then you should just simply look into, like, when you're sorting, you should of course go and search with the language. That can take your time, 5-6 hours maybe, or 6-7 hours maybe. But it can happen that you might find organizations which interests you. And other than that, how to select an organization is basically that you should shortlist. Like these are 7 to 8 organizations that I think I might want to work with. And then you should clone build their project in your local, because in some organizations, building the project in itself is a task. Like at least with GCompri, I took over 3 weeks to just run the program, like run the software on my system, because they used to have some different, they worked on Linux, and at that point of time, I used to work on Windows. Like I was just on Windows or maybe Mac OS, but I had never used Linux at that point of time. But for them, their major things were happening on Linux, and I did not know it. And I was even afraid to even interact with the community to understand how they have done the development thing and stuff. So I would suggest to interact with the community and build these projects on a local, and just go through their code base and try to understand like what they are trying to do. And if you think that you understand it, and if you think that you can make some changes, then I think you should cut down that 7 to 8 list to 2-3 organizations. And then depending upon your interest and depending upon your progress, you should actually come down 3. Actually in GSoC you can make 3 proposals, but the point is that 3 gets a lot, because जब time pass आ रहा होता है proposals का, तो हर proposal बहुत time लेता है बनने में. And 3 proposals submit करना, मतलब पता नहीं, maybe people do it, but I did not do it. I just submitted 1 proposal because I had done a lot of work with the organization before GSoC itself. So I knew that ठीक है, मतलब अगर मेरा इसमें नहीं हुआ तो I don't think कहीं होगा, तो मैंने कहीं try भी नहीं किया था. So that was the kind of situation with me. But with you, I would suggest, if you think that you have ample amount of time, like just in case you start like next month, you can have time and you can choose 2 organizations, stick with those 2 organizations, stick with those, let's say 3 organizations start, and depending upon your interest and your progress, you can just go ahead. So I think that's a way. It is of course abstract, but there are 2 things, either search by language or other search by interest. And in both the cases, you have to clone the repo in your local and see if you can actually make the code changes. For me, what I did while I was using GCompri is that I actually was looking into the previous commits that were made, like the previous GSoC people who had made their PRs, and I was looking in their PRs and I was trying to understand that what they have done and if I were like capable of doing something similar, or if I were capable of thinking something like that. So I think that is the way that you should select organizations. And proposal making tips. So before coming on to proposal making tips, I wanted to know how many people are active here. Can you guys like just drop a hi or something in text, because I think I was only speaking, so it might be like getting boring for you guys. Okay, okay, that's a good number of people. Okay. So you guys are active, right? Because see, I mean, these things are like you are supposed to get bored. I couldn't have done anything to make it interesting for you. But yeah, I wanted to get into the details. I just wanted you to know that what is the reality and like how should you approach it. Because I made mistakes when I was starting off. So yeah, before getting into the proposal making tips, I would like to tell you that how this works, this timeline. I think I missed that point. So that is why I would like to reiterate on that. That every year there are organizations which are chosen by Google, and there are some organizations which are popular and which are chosen by Google depending upon the past performance every year. So the list of organizations gets updated every year. So when you are choosing an organization, it is very important to see that कई बार ऐसा होता है that people make a lot of efforts, like months of effort, like 6 to 7 months, and then that organization is not selected by Google for GSoC for that particular session. So if your aim was GSoC, then your efforts get wasted. So you should be careful about that you should be choosing organizations which have a good past track record. हर ईयर उनके कितने GSoC में कितने बच्चे उस पर्टिकुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन उस पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट से सेलेक्ट हो रहे हैं. So that is something that you should I believe pay attention to, and depending upon that you should also select your organization. मतलब ऐसा भी कुछ चूज मत कर लेना कि वो उसी साल आया और उसके बाद वो नहीं आया. तो ये I think I have seen a lot of people making this mistake. Luckily I was not the one to do it, but yeah, this is one of the factors that you should look into. अब now how will you decide कि वो organization popular है कि नहीं? This is very abstract. Like you need to engage and interact with the community. You need to see उस organization की कितनी popularity है, कितना past record है, उसके current mentor से या previous या GSoC people से तुम्हें interact करके बात करनी पड़ेगी. Like जब मैंने start किया था, मैंने LinkedIn पे मतलब मैं तो हर चीज के लिए I think I use LinkedIn like anything. मतलब मुझे कुछ भी करना होता है, मैं बस LinkedIn पे जाती हूँ, start talking to people. That's how I do everything. So उसको भी मैंने ऐसे ही start किया था. I texted these people. एंड पास्ट ईयर GSoC स्कॉलर्स थे, पास्ट ईयर GSoC स्कॉलर्स को भी मैंने किया था, मेंटोर्स को भी टेक्स्ट किया था. उनमें से 5 लोगों करोगे तो एक का रिप्लाई आता है, एक का आया, एंड दैट पर्सन सजेस्टेड मी, दैट पर्सन वाज टेलिंग मी अबाउट the things that you can do to actually get started in a particular organization. So मैंने उनसे पूछा कि क्या केडी ऐसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जहाँ पे इफ आई मेक एफर्ट्स वो सेलेक्ट होती है, देन आई गॉट अ ग्रीन फ्लैग देयर दैट यस इट्स वेरी पॉपुलर, इट डज गेट स्लॉट्स एवरी ईयर. Gcompri is its most popular project, and that is a project I was interested in luckily. So you are like there are a lot of chances that if you actually are able to make a significant contribution, there are chances that you can make it. Then so this is one of the factors that you need to look into. So interacting with the mentors is a very big thing. Also, apart from cloning the repo, understanding the code, I think you should also interact with the community, and this applies to not only GSoC but also to LFX, even to Outreachy, I think. And I also got an outreach in LFX, but I chose GSoC because सबका timeline overlap कर रहा था. But LFX में मैंने यही किया था. I set up a call with my mentor in Pixie, and I got on a video call with him. I requested him to talk to me. I told him that about my background, कि I'm a student and I'm interested. तो ऐसा मैंने उनको 2.5-3 हफ्ता follow किया था. तब जाके उन्होंने मेरे को time दिया था कि ठीक है, let's get on a call. And he was ready to discuss with me, and then he assigned me a personal mentor. So that I think helped me a lot, because वो वाला जो project था, it was in Kubernetes and Docker, so वो एकदम new field था. Like second year के बच्चे के लिए, मतलब मेरे लिए at least उस वक्त इतना मैं friendly नहीं थी कि how pods work, what is Kubernetes. So उन्होंने मेरे को छोटे-छोटे tasks दिए थे, because they every organization would want people to come and contribute, right? So they would help you themselves. But the point is that you should show that kind of enthusiasm that, mujhe karna hai wali cheez. So if you interact with the mentors, reach out to people, the past GSoC scholars, or let's say they're not past GSoC scholars, they're active contributors, you should talk to them. Have a organization के बारे में एक idea ले लो कि होता क्या है यहाँ पे, कैसी है organization, मेरी क्या क्या चीजें होने वाली हैं. So something like that. Apart from cloning the repo. So coming to the proposal making tips, okay. It is very important that you see the proposals that your particular organization has made in the past. So for that, when the timeline is approaching, like you have to make submissions to GSoC, you should reach out to your mentors and talk to them and ask them कि वो तुम्हें help करें अपने previous proposal से, and those proposals can be even 5-6 years old. Trust me, they can be, because मेरा जो proposal था, मैंने 5-6-7 proposals अपनी organizations पढ़ के तब मैंने बनाया था. And if I tell you in KD में around 200 proposals आते हैं, my like this is what my mentor told me. There is nothing like a rating there, but my mentor told me that your proposal was on top for KD's like G Compra. They were like इसको तो मतलब लेना ही लेना है, इसका proposal बहुत अच्छा है. So the thing that I did was I studied a lot of proposals, and not only from my organization. You can just simply go and Google search. There are a lot of GitHub repos which where people go and post their personal I would say proposals, so you can see them and understand क्या करना है, कैसे करना है. And formatting and everything is very important. Giving an introduction about yourself is very important. Giving a timeline and what features you're going to add, getting into the details of what features you're going to implement is the most important thing. Why? Because when you're making a proposal, तुम एक ऐसी चीज के बारे में बात करो जो तुमने नहीं किया है और तुम करना चाह रहे हो, तो तुमको एक रफ तुमको एक फेयर आइडिया होना चाहिए कि तुम उसको कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट करोगे. भले ही वो गलत है, बट तुमको एक अप्रोच होनी चाहिए तुम्हारी कि तुम गूगल सर्च करो और देखो कि क्या मैं अगर मैं इस प्रोजेक्ट में ये फीचर इम्प्लीमेंट करना चाह रहा हूँ, तो इसको करने का क्या ये तरीका है. तुम्हें ये सर्च करना पड़ेगा, अपने टेक स्टैक में देखना पड़ेगा कि कितना ये पॉसिबल है, ना अकॉर्डिंगली तुम्हें राइट करना पड़ेगा. ट्रस्ट मी 7-8 डिविजन होते हैं, बट मेरे सेमेस्टर एग्जाम्स चल रहे थे थर्ड सेम के उस वक्त जब GSoC था इस वक्त. सो उस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे मतलब मेरा प्रपोजल इतना लेट सबमिशन था, लाइक 21 वाज द लास्ट डेट एंड मतलब 20th को सबमिट हुआ. बट या आई मेड माय प्रपोजल इन अबाउट लाइक अ वीक. बट उस एक वीक मतलब वो वीक तो मैंने लिखना शुरू किया था. उससे पहले मैंने बहुत सारी चीजें स्टडी कर रखी थी कि मेरे को करना क्या, हैड अ फेयर आइडिया कि मैं करने क्या वाली हूँ. तो आई वाज फोकसिंग ऑन माय एंड सेमेस्टर एग्जाम, और जैसे ही मेरा लाइक लास्ट डे था एंड सेम का, लाइक सेकंड लास्ट डे या जो भी पेपर्स में आई वाज कंफर्टेबल, आई स्टार्टेड वर्किंग ऑन माय प्रपोजल. So ये भी है. Apart from that, you should also include diagrams. You should also include class diagrams if possible to show कि तुम्हारा basic क्या class diagram होने वाला है. Apart from that, जैसे मेरा project थोड़ा सा activity based था. It's like a student software that students use in schools. It's used in France actually in colleges for them to understand different concepts of maths and programming and things like that. So उसमें बहुत सारे visuals required थे, बहुत सारे SVGs मेरे को डालने थे, तो मैंने वो डाले थे. तो डिपेंडिंग अपॉन कि तुम्हारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का कैसा फ्लेवर है, डू ऐड दैट फ्लेवर. बाकी टाइमलाइन ऐड करना, इम्प्लीमेंटेशन डिटेल, दीज आर कॉमन टू ऑल द ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस. ऑफ कोर्स अपने बारे में एक अच्छा इंट्रो देना, अपने पुराने प्रोजेक्ट्स के बारे में तुम लिंक डाल सकते हो, पुरानी PRs की लिंक डाल सकते हो, ये दिखाने के लिए कि लेट्स से तुम जब कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे थे कम्युनिटी में, जो डिसाइड करते हैं लोग, लेट्स से 10 लोग डिसाइड कर रहे हैं पैनल में, बट तुम्हारे टाइम पे सिर्फ 3 लोग एक्टिव थे, तो बाकी 7 लोग को कैसे पता चलेगा कि तुम्हारा कैसा लाइक बैकग्राउंड है या तुम कैसे हो या क्या है. So that can help you when you add an intro about yourself, you add links to your previous PR and you try to convey. And this goes in LFX as well. मतलब ऐसे समझ लो कि LFX और GSoC का proposal making I think is very very close. मेरा तो दोनों को ऑलमोस्ट सेम सा था. पिक्सी में चीजें बहुत डिफरेंट थी, मैंने डायग्राम्स नहीं डाले थे उसमें क्योंकि मुझे इतना समझ में भी उस वक्त नहीं आ रहा था कि मैं क्या डालूं. बट उनका थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट है, बट approach has to be same for proposal and GSoC as well as for LFX का जो program that I'm talking about. And I think with this I have covered prerequisites, how to select organization, proposal making tips, and I don't think there's more to it. We can have questions. Rajat has his hand raised. Rajat, you want to talk something? Okay, I think okay, fine. So I will entertain your questions. At this point of time, I would like you to note down your questions on GSoC or in the process that you have. I would love to answer them, but at the end of this presentation. So at this point in time, I want to tell you guys that make a note of the questions that you have while I was speaking. If you had any questions, and then we can. I'll take up your questions at the end. I still have something to say to left. I think which will be important for you when you join, and of course, that my personal hack is also left. So coming to this. There are other programs I would like to talk about that not a lot of people know about it. And one of those programs is, I think, which I also want to participate in, is Reinforcement Learning Open Source Fest by Microsoft. And trust me, even the people who have done GSoC, a lot of times they don't know about it. It is not very popular in India, and not a lot of Indians participate in it. But if you do, if I tell you, then there is a stipend of 10,000 USD, which is much, much, much more than participating in any like even if you do internships for like a 3 month or so, इतना इतना नहीं कोई पे करता है, मतलब सबसे ज्यादा पे इसका है, and it is from Microsoft itself. So a very high chance that your resume can get noticed by Microsoft if you are applying off campus other than Microsoft Engage, and if they have off campus opening, or maybe even if you like get into the industry and if you apply, if you have done this program, I think then your resume, because MS का है and MS का पूरा प्रोग्राम है ना, आप करते हो लाइक गूगल का GSoC है, वैसे MS का ये वाला है. ऑल्दो ये इतना पॉपुलर नहीं, आई डोंट नो व्हाई इट इज नॉट पॉपुलर. मैं भी लाइक सर्च करके आई थी, और जब तक मुझे पता चला था तब तक इसका सबमिशन टाइमलाइन निकल चुका था, बिकॉज GSoC के टाइम पे इसका भी होता है. बट दिस इज अ वेरी पॉपुलर प्रोग्राम आई वुड लाइक टू टॉक अबाउट. LFX mentorship I talked about. थोड़ा सा तुम्हें daunting लगेगा इसमें organizations को देखना more than GSoC. Why? Because इसमें थोड़ा सा तुम्हारा Kubernetes DevOps जाता है. But just like I did, I reached out to my community mentors, और मैं तो मतलब उनके पीछे पड़ गई थी 2.5-3 हफ्ता. मतलब पीछे पड़ने का मतलब ये नहीं कि तुम उनको like you start bugging them, but पीछे पड़ने का मतलब है कि you sincerely approach them that I am actually interested and I want to work. Like be unprofessional with them, but professionally, keep on following up with them. So they will also understand कि यार एक बच्चा इतनी बार बोल रहा है तो मतलब कुछ ना कुछ बात होगी. Let's give time to that person. Okay, so that's the thing. Outreach is there. It's kind of gender diverse, but I have seen 2-3 like guys also getting it. I don't know what criteria they used, but I think they were from some underrepresented group. I don't know how, but this program is usually for girls, but I have seen 2-3 guys also getting selected from India. So you might want to reach out to them on LinkedIn, search and ask. I don't know what criteria or how they frame their essays in Outreachy that help them get into it. But for me in Outreachy, I would tell you the essays that I wrote, I was actually already involved in community a lot. And if I tell you, I already, when I entered my first year, so I think मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब from my community, I did not get a lot of acceptance, at least at my college. I did not get a lot of acceptance while I was doing things in technology. I got into this Google's V program in my first year itself. तो उसके बाद से पता नहीं क्यों, but ऐसा कुछ हो गया था कि like a lot of people were very unacceptable, like उनको accept नहीं होता था कुछ चीजें. तो मुझे कई जगह पे कि कई प्रोजेक्ट्स को मैंने काम करने की कोशिश करी कॉलेज में, या कुछ चीजें करी, या लोगों को अप्रोच किया फॉर पीयर हब थिंग्स, या कोलैबोरेशन ऑन हैकाथॉन्स, या मे बी इवन कोडिंग कंटेस्ट एंड स्टफ लाइक दैट. ऐसा मुझे कुछ बहुत एटमॉस्फेयर नहीं मिला था. मतलब अब तो थिंग्स हैव इम्प्रूव्ड far, like way much, but in my first year I think मुझे बहुत ज्यादा रेजिस्टेंस मिला था. So I wrote about my experiences, and I wrote about those experiences honestly. मतलब मैंने कुछ नहीं किया था ऐसे इसमें, मैंने honestly अपना experience लिखा. What you need to understand is while you are applying to these programs, please make sure that you have a positive note to your essays. Even for MLH, I would like to tell you that have a positive note. ऐसा मत करना कि अपनी व्यथा बताते बताते इतना रोने लगो कि तुम एकदम नेगेटिव नोट ले आओ. बी एंथुजियास्टिक, बी पॉजिटिव, एंड स्टिल टेल दैट तुमने क्या प्रॉब्लम्स फेस की एंड तुम क्या चाहते हो कि हो, और हाउ यू वुड लाइक टू मेक अ चेंज. सो आउटरीच एंड एमएलएच दोनों के लिए चीजें जाती है. बाकी एक टिप ये रहेगी, जितने भी पास्ट ईयर स्कॉलर्स हैं, जस्ट रीच आउट टू देम ऑन लिंक्डइन एंड आस्क देम to review your essays, share your Google Doc with them. I always do this thing in all the programs that I apply, and this works because they have a lot of experience. They know how the community is because they have already worked with them, so they can give you better feedbacks. So जो भी तुमको अपनी best intellect से समझ में आ रहा है, do that. Try to be honest, try to have your original points, try to be positive, and try to show your enthusiasm in technology and how you want to bring a change, and then add these points in your essay and get your essays reviewed. I think this is one of the things which can help you get into outreach and MLH as well. I have not done MLH because time नहीं मिला अभी तक करने का. Maybe I can try next year or something, but I don't know. But yeah, this is one of the programs that is there. GSoC, a girl script summer of code, it is very popular, and one of the main benefits, especially for girls, if I can tell you, Girlscript every year hires off campus. It partners up with some companies. This year it has partnered up like with it last year, and I think last year it was with Intuit or something. So they partnered up with these organizations, and if you have good contribution and like good participation in GSoC or let's say some other thing, then there are chances that they can call you for giving their online assessment and then interview and things like that. So you have opportunities for that through GSoC as well. In this, I was the project admin from one of the projects which I pushed. I'll tell you about that. But I think this was the reason which I actually got an opportunity to I got an OLA for some company through them. So this is why I think GSoC is also important. Also, this is very beginner friendly. Matlab, GSoC is something to I think every first year person should do. I think I have also done in my first year. Everybody should do. Even if you're not in your first year but you're just starting into open source, I think GSoC is very friendly. बहुत सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं एंड सब इंडियंस होते हैं लाइक वीआईटी वगैरह के बच्चे सारंग वगैरह के बच्चे ही मेंटेन करते हैं आईटीज के भी होते हैं आई हैव सीन अ लॉट ऑफ आईटीज आल्सो सो फर्स्ट स्टार्ट गिटहब से करना है ताहा आई विल टेक द क्वेश्चंस एट द एंड आई एम सॉरी द सेशन इज गोइंग थोड़ा सा ज्यादा हाउ इज इट ओके और यू वांट मी टू लाइक रैप अप सून लाइक इन 5 minutes कैन यू लाइक गिव मी समथिंग बिकॉज़ आई डिड नॉट एक्सपेक्ट इतना बड़ा होगा बट हो गया सो Bhavya, are you there?
No issue. Can just continue. But after wrap up karte because we should have a Q&A session. Like students are having many questions.
Okay, sure. So GSoC is something that you should. I'll tell you like how to do that. Taha, I'll take a question. But GSoC is something which let's say I have seen a lot of. I actually came across a person. He did GSoC in his 4th year. He started with open source in his 3rd year, and GSoC was something. Girlscript Summer of Code was something that he started off. So लोगों को लगता है ना कि मतलब हमें बहुत लेट हो गया है ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है मतलब जब जागो तब सवेरा है समथिंग लाइक दैट तो GSoC is something which is very beginner friendly कुछ नहीं किया है तो एटलीस्ट इसमें एक PR मार के देखो बहुत कॉन्फिडेंस और बहुत मजा आएगा कि ठीक है यू हैव डन समथिंग MS का मैंने बता दिया नाउ सीजन ऑफ KD एंड पॉस ओवरफ्लो बाय IIT Bhilai I have been a part of them and there is a story to it season of KD actually IIT Bhilai का पॉस ओवरफ्लो जो था last year it's a paid program where they use if your proposal gets selected if you get accepted in one of the projects to contribute as a mentee you get paid and which is a very good kickstart and this was my first ever paid program if I tell you and last year it was the first session and I gave my proposal in an Android app and the Android app where I was working as a mentee I'll be mentoring there most probably this year but this project along with my other co-mentee like there were we 2 people who were working on this one project and we requested our mentors and we pushed this particular project to GSoC where I was a project admin and which led me to actually get an OA link to a company so do you understand like link कितना ज्यादा हो रहा है कि मैंने इसमें participate किया था because I was very new मेरा first time था proposal का और मैंने trash proposal बनाया था मतलब it was trash I can say but that was my first attempt at making a proposal when I was submitting it to Pause Overflow but क्योंकि मेरा Android में थोड़ा past का मतलब था contribution था तो Android project था scratch से बनाना था तो it took me also it was a women Android app I had very good ideas for it so they like took me up and after that after this program got ended after I was in the middle of GSoC I pushed this project to GSoC where I was a project admin and after that I got an interview opportunity also with Atlassian like I got the OA link abhi hona hai 12 ko but the point is ki do you understand how like what wonders open source can do at least with me it has done a lot of wonders and it can do with you if you do anything with enthusiasm and dedication so that's the thing season of KD kya hai after this Force Overflow got ended I searched on Google that because एक ओपन सोर्स प्रोग्राम मैंने पेड किया था तो मेरे को अब कॉन्फिडेंस आ गया था कि हाँ यार मैं कर सकती हूँ 1 महीने का इट वाज फॉर 2 months एक्चुअली एंड वो करने के बाद दिसंबर में एंड हुआ मैं दिसंबर एंड में मैंने गूगल सर्च किया था कि ओपन सोर्स प्रोग्राम्स दैट यू शुड पार्टिसिपेट इन एंड GFG का एक पेज लिंक आया था उसमें सीजन ऑफ KD के बारे में लिखा था विच इज हाउ आई गॉट टू नो अबाउट KD तो दिसंबर एंड में मेरे को पता चला जनवरी में इसके एप्लीकेशंस ओपन होती है एंड जी कॉम्प्राय लकीली जिस प्रोजेक्ट में मैं इस बार हूँ GSoC में वो उस वक्त था उसमें बट माय प्रपोजल इट गॉट रिजेक्टेड फॉर द फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट इट गॉट रिजेक्टेड, क्योंकि पहली बात मैं प्रोजेक्ट बिल्ड ही नहीं कर पाई थी. मतलब जो मेरा GSoC का प्रोजेक्ट है, आई टुक 3 वीक्स, 3 नहीं, मतलब उस वक्त तो मैंने 1.5 वीक्स लिया था और मैं बिल्ड ही नहीं कर पाई थी, क्योंकि मेरे को लिनक्स वगैरह का कोई आइडिया नहीं था. मैं बिल्ड नहीं कर पाई थी. मैंने अपने इमेजिनेशन से कुछ प्रपोजल लिख के दिया था कि मैं ये कर सकती हूँ, मैं ये बना सकती हूँ, फिर गिव में पहुंचनी, समथिंग लाइक दैट. But they had given the feedbacks on it and I don't think it was very technical. मतलब वो proposal एक बहुत noob था. It was still a very noob proposal, I would say, and I failed at it. And but after that, even if I failed at it, I think मेरा co-mentee GSoC में जो था वो उस वक्त के season of KD में select हुआ था. So he has been working there for 6-7 महीने से. So when I came back, I failed at it and I had some other things coming up in college. I attended them, then I came back here 1 महीने के गैप के बाद. फिर मेरा ये था कि मेरे को करना है इस प्रोजेक्ट में काम, बिकॉज आई लाइक द प्रोजेक्ट इरेस्पेक्टिव ऑफ GSoC में हो ना हो, ये मेरे को ले ना ले, मुझे काम करना है. सो मैं आई वापस, मैंने टाइम स्पेंड किया, 3 वीक्स नहीं हुआ. फिर आधे के 1 दिन में मैंने एक मेंटोर को बहुत डर के अप्रोच किया कि देखो मुझसे प्रोजेक्ट सेटअप नहीं हो रहा है, बिकॉज मुझे ये बात पता ही नहीं थी कि प्रोजेक्ट्स ना सेटअप करना इट्स अ वेरी नॉर्मल थिंग. मुझे ऐसा लग रहा था कि ये लोग सोचेंगे कि यार इसको तो कुछ आता नहीं है, मतलब इसको कैसे ले लिया, समथिंग लाइक दैट. आई वाज वेरी स्कैर्ड एंड आई अप्रोच्ड माय फ्रेंड, वन ऑफ माय फ्रेंड्स इज इन गूगल एंड ही वाज आल्सो ट्राइंग टू हेल्प मी, बट हम दोनों से ही नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि कुछ चीजें ऑर्गेनाइजेशन स्पेसिफिक होती हैं और वो उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अलावा और लोग नहीं कर पाते हैं. देन वन ऑफ द मेंटोर्स, ही केम ऑन अ गूगल मीट, ही हेल्प मी विद इट. So that's how my journey started. I failed at season of KD and then I was able to make significant code contribution which helped me to get into GSoC. And First Overflow by IIT Bhilai was one of the biggest motivations for me. So I don't know about other IITs who have these kind of programs, but I would suggest कि इनका थोड़ा सा बार लो होता है. तो अगर तुम चाहो कि स्टार्ट करना और कुछ पेड से स्टार्ट करना, तो these are the programs that you can also search for. First Overflow is something that I highly recommend because I've been a part of it. And मेरे टाइम पे इस बार भी एक्चुअली जितने भी मेंटोर्स थे उसमें सारे पास GSoC स्कॉलर्स थे. So I think it helped me a lot. And from a cohort of I think 15 to 16 people, there were 7 people who made it into GSoC. So this is the amount of selection rate that this program had in its first like year itself. So that's why I suggest it a lot. I think that's majorly it about the other programs. Other than that, you can also Google search and find. But these are the major programs which I think I've participated or somewhere I've been a part of it or I wish to be a part of it. So that can be it. Now coming to the biggest thing that I wanted to say, which is my hack to cracking all the open source programs. I think if you guys have been thoda sa काफी conscious in the session, then you must have made it that there are two things. एक तो ये कि community engagement होना चाहिए. उस कम्युनिटी के उस वक्त के एक्टिव जितने भी कंट्रीब्यूटर्स हैं वही सबसे ज्यादा डिसाइड करते हैं कि तुम्हारा प्रपोजल एक्सेप्ट होगा कि नहीं. तो तुमको उनकी आंखों में बन के रहना है. मतलब यू हैव टू बी एक्टिव. लाइक लेट्स से तुम कोड नहीं पुश कर पा रहे हो, बट यू हैव टू कीप ऑन एडिंग सजेशंस और बी एक्टिव इन द कम्युनिटी विया द कम्युनिटी चैट. अब डिपेंड करता है तुम्हारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की क्या मतलब उनका चैट हो, कैसा हो. मेरे लिए कुछ पे स्लैक का था, पिक्सी पे स्लैक था, पिक्सी के लिए इट वाज स्लैक एंड फॉर Gcompra इट वाज मैट्रिक्स. तो आई वुड से दैट तुमको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि तुम बहुत एक्टिव रहो, क्योंकि वो लोग जो होते हैं ना, जो एक्टिव कंट्रीब्यूटर्स हैं, उनका सबसे ज्यादा से होता है. दे आर द मेन डिसाइडिंग पीपल व्हेन इट कम्स टू डिसाइडिंग वेदर टू टेक अ स्टूडेंट और नॉट. एंड द अदर थिंग इज try to make sure that before the program starts, you have already done a lot of code contribution. Why? Because if you have done written code contribution, then nobody can find any reason until you make a trash proposal that you cannot make it into this program. So I think इतना ट्राई करो. लाइक मैंने ऐसा ऑब्जर्व किया था कि GSoC को स्टार्ट करने से पहले एक्टिविटीज होती थी मेरी ऑर्ग में. तो टिपिकली एक GSoC के पीरियड में लोग 4 या 3 एक्टिविटीज करते हैं. तो मैंने ऑलमोस्ट 70% एक एक्टिविटी कर दी थी GSoC से पहले. सो मेरा मतलब टाइम क्रंच था बहुत मेरे पास. मैंने मतलब 2 महीनों में किया था, बट उन 2 महीनों में मैंने दिन रात लगा के आई सबमिटेड 70% ऑफ द एक्टिविटी. और मेरे पास अच्छा खासा सिग्निफिकेंट कोड कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन था. और उस एक्टिविटी का आइडिया इतना यूनिक था. मैंने इतना टाइम स्पेंड किया था गूगल सर्च करके एक एक्टिविटी का आइडिया सोचने में और प्रपोज करके अप्रूव करवाने में, उसका डिजाइन अप्रूव करवाने में, उसका कोड लिखने में. मैंने इतना काम ऑलरेडी कर दिया था. इतने सारे मेरे कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस थे कि ना बोलना तो ऐसा हो जाता कि मतलब ना तभी बोलेंगे जब उनके पास कोई ऐसा बच्चा होगा जो पिछले 8 महीने से कर रहा होगा. देयर वाज अनदर मेंटी एंड ही हैड बीन कंट्रीब्यूटिंग दैट, बट मेरा कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑलमोस्ट सिमिलर हो गया बिकॉज आई स्पेंट अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम. परफेक्शन नहीं था कंट्रीब्यूशन में, बट मैंने ट्राई बहुत किया था. तो आई डिड अ लॉट ऑफ कोड कंट्रीब्यूशन. कोड वाज नॉट परफेक्ट, मर्ज के लायक नहीं था और बहुत इंप्रूवमेंट्स हुए इवन आफ्टर गेटिंग टू GSoC। उसमें ऑलमोस्ट मुझे 1.5-2 महीने लग गए, मैं सिर्फ उसी एक्टिविटी पे काम कर रही थी बिकॉज उससे करेक्शन इतने रिविजन हुए थे कि कोई भी आपकी चीज जब प्रोडक्शन में जाती है तो उसमें बहुत रिविजन होते हैं। सो दैट इज अनदर थिंग। बट वो इतना इम्प्रेस थे कि ऑलरेडी मैंने उनको फ्रेश चलती हुई एक्टिविटी बना के GSoC से पहले दे दिया, तो मतलब मैं उनको कुछ ना कुछ अच्छा ही करके दूंगी। सो दैट इज अ काइंड ऑफ थिंग आई फील। एंड फिक्सी में भी सेम चीज था कि उनसे पहले ही बिफोर द प्रोग्राम स्टार्टेड आई अप्रोच्ड माय मेंटर्स एंड आई आस्क्ड देम कि आप मेरे को टास्क दो। मुझे टास्क दिए, मेरे पास सेवरल लाइक मीटिंग सेटअप होती थी, मैं उनको काम करके पहले से, तो लाइक आई वाज ऑलरेडी वर्किंग लाइक एन person with them, like a regular person. I was showing up every day, I was active, like I am already being paid to work. So you have to have that kind of thing कि तुम पहले से इतना काम करने लगो कि वो तुम्हें ना बोल ही ना पाए. So that is something. And also be very interactive. Let's say तुम busy हो कहीं पर, तुम नहीं कोड कंट्रीब्यूशन कर पा रहे हो, तो एटलीस्ट कम्युनिटी चैट में एक्टिव रहो. कम्युनिटी चैट में एक्टिव रहना इज वेरी 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 इंपॉर्टेंट. At least my mentors used to lay a lot of emphasis that communication is more important than writing code. Why? Because your visions generate after you get into these brainstorming communications with these senior developers. So that is very important. So I think this is my hack to it. And that brings me to the motivation that if I can do it, I think anybody can do it. And I will like if a lot of people after attending session get motivated to contribute in open source and get started for GSoC, and don't like contribute for sake of GSoC or LFX. Just contribute because you like the project. And of course don't be dumb enough कि ऐसा कोई रिपोर्ट हाले जो कभी किसी प्रोग्राम में आने ही नहीं वाला है, ऐसा भी मत करना. I've seen people जिनका आउटरीची और GSoC सेम प्रोजेक्ट होता है, तो उनका आउटरीची में मेंटोर बन जाते हैं, इधर वो मेंटी रहते हैं GSoC में. ऐसे भी लोग होते हैं. एंड देन दीज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑल्सो हायर फुल टाइम. आई हैव सीन पीपल कि 3 साल या 2 साल काम करने के बाद उनको फुल टाइम जॉब मिल जाती है उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में. सो always choose an organization which you think has future benefits. At the same time, just don't be very job oriented, opportunity oriented कि मेरे को प्रोग्राम क्रैक करना. Also be code oriented and also be idea oriented, because जब तक तुम एक प्रोजेक्ट समझोगे नहीं तो अपने आइडियाज नहीं बना पाओगे. और मेजर रीजन LFX आउटरीच को छोड़ने का ये था कि मुझे उन प्रोजेक्ट्स में मैं बहुत ज्यादा क्रिएटिव नहीं हो पाती जितना मैं अपने इस प्रोजेक्ट में हो पाती, क्योंकि यहाँ पे मैंने नई नई चीजें सोची. आई थॉट अबाउट डिफरेंट थिंग्स व्हिच नोबडी हैज डन, which I think are required in this world. So I had the freedom to be creative as a college student. So that I think I chose, and it worked for me. I even got like my first invitation for Spain and Barcelona. I couldn't make it because thoda sa India Europe ka relations kharab hai, so my visa got rejected. That's another thing. But still, getting invitation, getting all these things is very big, and I never imagined that I could end up here. So I would suggest open source is very big and you should contribute, and just don't think ki do DSA. I have also done DSA, which is why I'm I'm going to intern at Salesforce. वो interview preparation एक another journey होती है. But I think as a college student तुम्हारे पास time रहता है. When you will be working full time, I don't think you'll have time for all this. So just do it. Don't think much. Just start, and trust me, it can get hard, but open source is very कि कभी कभी होगा कि तुम्हें काफी सारी चीजें इतना कम्युनिटी से सीखने को मिलेंगी कि तुम कर लोगे things which you never imagined. So it is going to be a bliss if you are actually passionate about becoming a software engineer and getting into the industry of tech. So that brings me to the end of the session. Thank you so much for listening to this very long 1 hour 16-minute presentation, and there are still 68 people. I totally appreciate your presence, guys. Feel free to drop your questions. I would love to take it. Bhavya, do you have something which your core committee had planned or something, if I'm unaware of it? And you
yeah, actually we have a quiz. So first we can take the questions, then we can go for a quiz.
Okay, sure. So can we can you guys just start shooting in your questions? I would be more than happy to help. Can you please add something about Git push once again? Okay, Sanyam, I would suggest you कि since this was not a hands-on session, अगर ये hands-on session होता तो मैं करके दिखाती. मैंने तो सोचा भी था कि मैं करके दिखाऊंगी कि कैसे तैयार होती है, कैसा लगता है. बट Git and GitHub के बारे में ज्यादा बात है, मैं GSoC क्या ये सब चीजों के बारे में बात नहीं कर पाती. इट इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट, क्योंकि ये चीजें हमें आई थिंक यूट्यूब पे मिल जाए ना मिले, एक जगह नहीं मिलेंगी. Git and GitHub के बारे में पढ़ने के लिए आई कैन टेल यू फ्री उनका, तो यू कैन गो एंड सर्च एंड गो एंड डू द कोर्स, एंड दैट शुड बी इनफ. ठीक है. Why I'm telling you, because technical चीजें the approach, it is not everywhere. So एक बार इसको देख लो and you will be very much familiar with what is Git push and what is this. Suhasi Parihar is asking, how do we enter into open source? Suhasi, first things first, its PR is called pull request. Acha, I think I forgot to tell you what is pull request. Okay, I'm very sorry for that. So pull request is something when you're requesting, just like I would like to go to this branch again and show you. Okay, so let's say I want my work from my own branch. Okay, just like I said कि मेरे पास अपनी एक copy होती है मेरे काम की, किसी के पास किसी की copy है काम की, and somebody and this is the main copy of the product that we are building. Okay, so in this copy I have implemented some features and I want these features to go into the master. So what I will do, I will make a request to this main branch that I want these particular features to get merged, and you add the description to the PR, and this basically is the idea of pull request. ठीक है, pull request करते कैसे मैंने बताया था, add commit, and you add a commit message, then you just commit it, and then your PR is created, and then you can then your maintainers will review it and so on. And Hackable Fest is around this only, that you actually make PRs in Hackable Fest to these repositories which have Hackable Fest label on it. You can go and first sign up on the Hackable dashboard, and then you'll be able to see कि तुम्हारी कितनी PRs created हुई हैं. अगर तुम्हें 4 PR करनी है, let's say you end up in the top 75,000, which most of the people actually do, then you get swags and then you get appreciated. So that is pull request. Prashant, I think Prashant is quite familiar with all these things. So you have peers in your community, you can take help from them, and please do not shy away. Like, do ask your friends, do ask juniors if you know something. I think मैं तो अपने juniors से काफी कुछ सीखने वाली हूँ, because I have people there which I think I can learn from. So that's what GitHub versus GitLab. Anupam, both of them, just like I said, are they are cloud-based hosting services which help you to manage your Git repositories and stuff. Depending upon तुम जिस organization या project में कर रहे हो वो कहाँ पे maintained है. Bitbucket is also there, वहाँ पे भी हो सकता है, GitHub पे भी हो सकता है, GitLab पे भी हो सकता है, but GitHub पे सबसे ज़्यादा है, which is why I think MS bought GitHub, क्योंकि उनको मतलब GitHub जैसी वेबसाइट बनाना कोई बहुत बड़ी चीज नहीं थी, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के लिए कभी भी कर सकते, बट व्हाई बॉट इट इज बिकॉज उनको वो सारा कोड चाहिए था, क्योंकि मैक्सिमम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से कोड जो होस्टेड है वो तुम्हारा GitHub पे, तो दे वांटेड इट. GitLab is also there. Bug bounty is also open source thing. No, Taha, bug bounty is not open source. That is more towards your cybersecurity and your hacking and stuff. I am yet to explore that domain. I'm very interested, but I did not get time, or maybe I can do it, but it is nowhere related to your open source. Bug bounty is basically when you actually point out vulnerabilities that this is where your software, your website is, this is where your software can get hacked or something. You point out those vulnerabilities to these companies, and then that is called as bug bounty. So that is it. Can you suggest some beginner-friendly repos? Okay, this is a good question. But I think you can Google search, and I think that there are a lot of GitHub repositories itself which talk about these beginner-friendly repos. Non-code contributions, GSoC. Prashant, you can do that, but why I will not suggest it is because, especially in my interviews, other than my personal project, I talked a lot about my GSoC project, and it laid a lot of emphasis. So when you're discussing about a project that is public and you have made real code changes, you have made real feature changes, that is going to help you a lot in your software engineering interviews with all these big PBCs. So you can go with just for sake of contribution, you can do like no code contribution, but यार इतना टाइम दोगे 3 महीने का, तो मतलब कुछ कर लो, मतलब ऐसा जो तुम आगे तक ले जा पाओ या तुम्हारे रेज्यूमे पे रहे, तुम उसके बारे में बता पाओ. Technical writing, there are repositories which can do it, but why, don't do GSoC just for getting money or just for getting the tag, because people will ask you what work you have done in GSoC. So that is more important than just doing GSoC. Ma'am, can we also apply for open source as a company? Okay. Open source as a company, I don't understand that question, but let's say you want to apply as a maintainer for any repository, you can do that in your Hackable Fest. Just like I did for GSoC, I was the maintainer for my own repository, which I actually was a mentee in IIT Bhilai Source Overflow. So you have the flexibility to be a maintainer for these repositories in Hackable Fest. And but first, like, start with getting with the contribution, be a mentee, and then be a maintainer. So that is the most ideal way to get started. Does the same project continues for next upcoming year in GSoC? Anupam, that okay. Okay. Anupam, that totally depends. Just like I said, I think you missed that point. That totally depends on our organization, how popular it is, what its track record has been before Google, and like how famous it is, how significant it is, and what work they are doing. So it is totally like dependent on Google whether they select those organizations or not, because ultimately the pay that you get for GSoC, the stipend that you get, is from Google. And these organizations only present their projects and they only एक तुम फेयर में जाते हो स्टॉल्स लगाते हो तो ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन स्टॉल के तरह है बट अल्टीमेटली स्टॉल्स का जो पे कर रहा है वो फेयर जिसने भी ऑर्गेनाइज किया है वो कर रहा है तो दैट इज गूगल देयर तो डिपेंडिंग अपॉन कि तुम्हारा स्टॉल कितना ज्यादा पॉपुलर है कितना सिग्निफिकेंट है कितना ज्यादा उसने अच्छा काम किया है पास्ट ईयर्स में क्या हिस्ट्री है क्या ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड है उस पर डिपेंड करता है सो दैट इज व्हाई you should actually interact with your mentors and ask them ki kitne and be open about it. Everybody would like to answer and everybody knows that if you are spending time here, you are here for some reason, then be open about it and ask them very politely, of course. And थोड़ा काम करने के बाद ऐसे भी नहीं कि गए हो पूछ रहे हो एक भी प्यार मारने से पहले तो उनसे पहले ये बोल दो कि कि what are the chances that this project is going to make it to GSoC this year in organizations list this year, so you can ask them these questions. Do I need to do I need Git in order to use GitHub? Yes, of course, that is what, because without Git you will not be able to use this Git commands push and pull. How will you interact with GitHub? That's the cloud hosting software. So how will you interact to interact with GitHub or Bitbucket and all these things? You can talk, you need Git and you need to set up Git. There are tutorials on it. Just Google search how to set up Git and how to get started with it, or basic Git commands, how to use it. You can find tutorial. I have already laid a page name here, Free Code Camp. I think their tutorial is pretty concise and it helped me a lot to understand depth. And once you get it, trust me, मतलब पता नहीं बट मैंने तो जब अपना चैप्टर भी स्टार्ट किया GDSC फाइनल ईयर को भी नहीं पता था so I know that there are people in their final year who don't know it because some people they're very much into CP and they forget the world, so that's the case. So you should not be like that. I trust. How much open source contribution is effective to scale up career? Lakshit, okay. How much open source contribution is effective to scale up in career? Totally depends on what tech stack or what organization you are contributing to and how much contribution you have been able to make. There can be chances that the tech stack you have chosen, there are organizations which have Go or these languages which are very rare as the tech stack. But let's say you learn it, you are able to make a contribution there, then of course you're scaling up, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, if you're making contributions consistently, then you are scaling up. So that's the thing. And of course, there are related opportunities to it. So I have already told you about that in the benefits section. So I think that's it. Skill up hota hai. And more than that, let's say in an interview, you're sitting and there is a candidate and both of you, because DSC questions hote hain. Other than some companies, most of the companies ask standard DSC questions which can be covered by the sheets and stuff, which is not recommended, of course, but just in case आप interview preparation करते हो 1-2 महीने में तो हो जाता है. So the thing is that if you have these kind of open source profile, open source contributions, these programs, then that will show कि भाई बंदा has been consistent, holistic approach था. So if we hire this person, then this person is actually going to be an asset for the organization. This is what you should look for, to have a holistic profile. So that let's say you change your mind or you even want to go for higher studies, you want to get into research, you have benefits of open source everywhere. What if a contributor merges a branch with a bug in the master? How to deal with it? Okay, Anupam, it's not the contributor who merges a PR, a pull request in the master branch. It is the maintainers. That is what I said, that they review it. They see that if it is the feature that they want, if it is approached in the way that they want to, if it is implemented in the way that they want it, and if it is bug free, if it is going to work and everything, and then they merge it. So you cannot merge your request on your own unless and until you have a developer account for that particular platform. Like after GSoC, I got a developer account for my organization. So that's what. Yeah. Do we have any more questions, or I think that's it? Okay, I think that's pretty much it. So thanks a lot, guys, for listening to me, and I hope you had a good Sunday evening. I did not bore you. So yeah, thanks, Asha. I hope it was great talking to you guys. Yeah.
Actually, it was an awesome session. और सारे फंडे खुले मतलब लाइक आई थिंक चैट में भी बहुत काफी एंजॉय किया उनकी जो क्वेश्चंस थे.
Thanks a lot. And I would like to tell you that at least the community here is very active. I'm really like happy to see the response. People are ready to learn, I would say. So that's really nice to see.
So I think can we take a group photo before
Sure.
moving towards the...
Sure. You can.
So I request all you to turn on your cams. Can someone from the core team? Okay. कुछ लोगों के अभी तक कैम ऑन नहीं हुआ है. Please turn on your cam. Okay, just a second. Okay, thank you so much for turning on cam. और अब अपन एक क्विज सेक्शन करते हैं फटाफट. तो we'll drop a Google form link और उसमें आपको जाके क्विज अटेंड करना है. तो बेसिकली टाइम बेस्ड क्विज. तो जो फर्स्ट करेगा ऑब्वियसली उसको हम आगे मतलब एक्सेप्ट करेंगे और 2 विनर्स है जिनके लिए कुछ सरप्राइजेज है. So I request the core team to drop the link on the chat. Okay, I got the link. ओके, तो ये लिंक है, इस पे आप जाओ, फटाफट क्विज अटेंड करो और उसके बाद आके आपको डन करना है, चैट में डन लिखना है जिनने क्विज दे दिया है. यहाँ पे रुकना, आपके लिए कुछ अनाउंसमेंट. तो गो फास्ट, फिल द क्विज. आई कैन सी मैनी डन इन द चैट। तो सिर्फ 5 मिनट और फॉर्म डन होने वाला है, तो जिन्होंने अभी तक नहीं किया फटाफट करो जल्दी। Okay, I hope आप सबने फॉर्म भर दिया होगा. So before we wrap up, thank you so much, Ms. Aastha, for joining us today. And this was an awesome session. और आपने जो भी share किया, like it was really helpful for us today. And thank you for coming today. You're mute.
Okay. I was saying thanks a lot, and it was great talking to you guys. Especially the students here are like pretty responsive and active. And yeah, I hope that you guys get started with it. At least if you have invested this kind of time into it, then do like search for Git and GitHub and get started and like complete your tasks for at least Hackable Fest. I would love to see you guys doing that.
Okay, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks so
I
much.
hope अपन और कोई इवेंट प्लान कर सकते हैं फ्यूचर में.
Sure.
थैंक यू. ठीक है, तो अब एक डिस्कशन करते हैं अपन. तो लाइक ऐसे इवेंट हम करवा रहे हैं GDSC से, तो अब हम चाह रहे हैं कि आपके आइडियाज मिले कि आप क्या चाहते हो कि कैसे इवेंट अपन अपने कॉलेज में कराएं. तो फॉर दैट वी आर शेयरिंग अ गूगल फॉर्म, फीडबैक फॉर्म बेसिकली. तो कोर टीम शेयर कर देगी, तो उसमें आपको अपने आइडियाज डालने हैं कि किस तरह की इवेंट आपको चाहिए. So I request the core team member to please share the feedback form also. Yep, it is there. So ये फॉर्म प्लीज आप फिल कर लेना, इसमें आप सेशन को प्लीज रेट करना और अपने आइडियाज डालो यार कि किस तरह के आपको सेशन चाहिए, क्योंकि हम हमारा बेस्ट ट्राई कर रहे हैं कि आपको नए नए तरीके के एक्सपोजर दें, जो नए इवेंट्स हो नए स्पीकर्स लेके आए। तो आपका क्या इंटरेस्ट है ये हमको पता लगना बहुत जरूरी है। फॉर दैट सेम रीजन प्लीज फिल दिस फॉर्म। और अब एक अनाउंसमेंट है बेसिक कि एक बहुत बड़ा इवेंट आ रहा है, सो आई विल नॉट लीक आउट द इंफॉर्मेशन, बट आपको थोड़ा सा एक्साइटेड करने के लिए मैं कुछ पॉइंट शेयर करूंगा कि दिस इवेंट इज बेसिकली इन दिसंबर और ये क्लाउड के ऊपर है। सो गूगल इज फंडिंग दिस इवेंट और इसके अंदर हम एक फैसिलिटेटर को अपॉइंट करेंगे जो बेसिकली गूगल उसको फ्री सर्टिफिकेशन भी प्रोवाइड करेगा और उसको ट्रेनिंग भी प्रोवाइड करेगा। तो इस इवेंट की इंफॉर्मेशन जल्दी आपके पास आएगी, बट बिफोर दैट प्लीज फिल दिस फॉर्म। उसके बीच की ड्यूरेशन में हम जो भी इवेंट करवा सकेंगे हमारी साइड से हम ट्राई करेंगे। तो उसके लिए प्लीज आप अपने आइडियाज शेयर करो कि आपको किस तरह के इवेंट चाहिए। और इसी के लिए रिगार्डिंग हमने डिस्कॉर्ड का सर्वर भी मतलब एक्टिव किया है, तो गूगल फॉर्म के नीचे आपको डिस्कॉर्ड का सर्वर का लिंक मिलेगा, तो डिस्कॉर्ड प्लीज ज्वाइन करो और उसमें भी आप एक्टिव रहो। हम उसमें मतलब लेटेस्ट सेशंस और टेक टॉक्स टाइप की चीज रखेंगे ताकि आप मतलब एक कम्युनिटी बिल्ड हो डेवलपर्स की। तो प्लीज आप एक बार इस गूगल फॉर्म को विजिट करना। और थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग टुडे। आई होप आपने कुछ ना कुछ सीखा होगा, क्योंकि लाइक दूसरे कॉलेजेस में क्या चल रहा है, जैसे ये जो स्पीकर आए थे ये मतलब लाइक अपने सेकेंड ईयर से इतनी बड़ी बड़ी चीजें फोड़ रखी है, फोड़ रखा है, ये काफी बड़ी बात है। आप इनसे सीखो, कनेक्ट करो, लिंक्डइन से बात करो लोगों से। और आई जस्ट वांट कि आप सभी लाइक एक्टिवली इन्वॉल्व रहो कम्युनिटी में और अपन सेशन तो करते रहेंगे। तो थैंक यू सो मच अगेन फॉर ज्वाइनिंग टुडे और आई होप यू विल एंजॉय द सेशन। और प्लीज ये फॉर्म भर लेना और इसमें अपने आइडियाज डालना कि किस तरह के सेशन आपको फ्यूचर में चाहिए, बिकॉज ये कम्युनिटी अपनी कम्युनिटी है और आप जैसा चाहेंगे वैसा हम करवाएंगे। ओके, so thank you so much. We'll wrap up the session today. I hope you enjoy the session. Please fill the form and we'll meet again in the next session.